What's up, everybody? Welcome to the fifth episode of the Popaholics podcast. Today's date is December 10th, 2019. I am one of your hosts here, Franklyn FM McInnis, and of course, I have my co-host with me, Collecting Plastic.
What do you hear? What do you say?
And I do want to before we get into things, I want to give you all a quick reminder what this podcast is all about. Of course, Collecting Plastic and I are Funko Pop collectors. That's one of the big things we have in common. But we like to talk about pop culture in general, just, whatever is catching our attention at the moment. But we are going to kick things off here by focusing on Funko because, of course, one of the big things that people have been talking about in the collecting community right now is the Cyber Monday bundle. And, there's even a little bit of controversy behind it. But Collecting Plastic, I want to just start off with what are your general thoughts about the bundle?
My general thoughts about the bundle is that it's more good than bad, basically. It doesn't blow me away, and I don't think it's bad either. Kind of like a middle of the road kind of opinion about it. I liked most of the things, and the bad things in it weren't enough to spoil it for me.
Yeah, I was surprised by how much of it I ended up liking because when they first revealed the first two items, I was kind of iffy on the Frankenberry, but that one actually ended up growing on me, and I've heard that it looks really good up close. Also the Tinkerbell, like right away, I was like, that's not really for my collection, but I know a friend that would appreciate it, and that's what the bundle comes down to me for. It's like it's not looking at it just about what goes into my collection. I think there are some things in there that work really well as gifts, and that's part of the reason that Funko, I think they kind of alluded to this in a live stream they did. I think that's part of the reason why they did this bundle early so people would get it in time, and that way if you want to gift anything, it'll be there before Christmas because they were pushing it in the past with the 12 days of Christmas, way too close to the holiday, and people ended up with things after Christmas Day.
Yeah, I think that's really smart, especially because people travel. I know I'm going to be traveling. I'm going to be out of town for about 2 weeks. So I have to get stuff now.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
I'm going to
and
give, and I'm going to if gifting, like you say, I think the Frankenberry in person looks really good, and I think the Frankenberry would make a nice gift for someone. It's substantial. Same with the Tinkerbell. I have the same thought as you. Like, it's not my favorite thing in the world, but I know at least three people that would love that.
yeah, even though it's just 12 items, which really when it comes down to it, that's not a lot. But I think they had smart selections in there because there are some things that can really go to different types of people, even people that are not Funko Pop collectors. There might be something in there for them. So I think it's a good variety. Um, I would say that putting in the two baseball theories, I can understand why some people aren't happy about that because for me, I love the Warriors, but it is sort of that cult classic type movie, so not everybody has seen it, of course.
Yeah, not everybody has seen it, although I feel like it's one of those that is so iconic that through cultural osmosis, similar to like Citizen Kane, a lot of people have heard about it, even if they haven't seen it. I think just pop culturally, I think the actual image of the Warriors is something that most people have seen. Um, if I were to nitpick though, those two Warrior figures, and it's getting really nitpicky, I feel like the yellow one is a little too green, and I want to say that the yellow baseball fury and the red baseball fury, you know how they have the big kind of like like black circle around one of the eyes, kind of like domino.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
want to say that they're on opposite eyes in the movie. They both don't have it on the right eye. I think it should. I think Funko goofed there, and I think one should be on the left eye and one should be on the right eye. But on
Well,
the pops, both on the right eye.
production wise, we know why it's the same. Just
Yeah,
to make it fast to get it out there. And again, I'm sure that's another reason why some people aren't too happy about that because they are so similar, same pose. It's just really the color of the face that's different. Um,
yeah. Could you imagine how
yeah.
cool they would have been if they would have had one baseball fury, holding the bat like he is, the original one, the blue one, and then one of them with his stance kind of open, with the bat kind of the side, kind of like the Negan pop, the newer one they came out with, kind of has the open body with the bat open because they do that in the movie, and then one with the bat over its shoulder. When you put all three of them together like that, it would look so
Yeah.
much better.
Yeah, much more dynamic. I agree with that. I kind of feel like I'm surprised they didn't do like maybe just one baseball theory and then save the other one for like Emerald City Comic Con or something like that.
Yeah.
But But like I said, for people that are not into the movie, I definitely feel the pain on that. But for me personally, I love the Warrior, so I'm cool with that. Drax. A lot of people are really into that Drax pop, which surprised me. Um, I know Drax is popular in the MCU, but I just didn't think that many people would be into a comic version. But I've seen a lot of people saying that's what the one that they really want.
Yeah, well, because Funko did a good job doing all these pops for the classic comic book versions of the Guardians of the Galaxy. They look really good together.
Yeah.
And I was never a fan of Guardians of the Galaxy from the comic books. It's mostly I got my love for them from the movies, but I love the comic versions. They look really good.
Yeah, and I have the other one, so I'm looking forward to putting the Drax along with those. And
Have you
at
seen the
first,
Drax in person yet?
no, not yet. I haven't seen any of them up close yet.
Yeah, you'll have to let me know because there's another thing I nitpick about that one, and it goes back to my conspiracy theories of why they throw certain pops in bundles and why they don't with others. When you look at that Drax pop up close, and you can even see it in the pictures, there's a very noticeable variation in the green between his body and his head. Like it's almost like the green in the body is a little darker and a little shinier, and his head is more kind of like a matte color and a little duller. And
Yeah.
I don't know if that's because he's like that in the comics, but it is very noticeable to me.
No, I think that is a production thing, and I have seen that with some other Funko Pops. I don't, maybe it's because the heads and the body is produced in a different way or something. I don't know,
Oh,
but I have noticed that before with other Pops, and it does bug me just a little bit. I'm not a big fan of that when the body and the head coloring don't quite match up.
yeah, it's really noticeable on a character like Drax as well because he's basically, without a shirt, so you see the skin colors. And yeah, it looks like the head was probably molded in green and the body molded in a different color and painted green. But it's a very, very minor thing because it
Yeah.
still does look pretty good.
But all together with the bundle, I think there's about half of it that'll stay in my collection, and then half of it that'll be gifted or whatever. And I actually already found homes for a couple of the items, and like I said, I have a lot of friends that are collectors, so I'm looking forward to actually gifting some of these pops away. I think some people are just their view on the bundle is they really want to like all of the items, and I think that's a big ask for Funko to, ask them basically to be able to satisfy you with every single pop in that bundle. That's just very unlikely in my opinion. That'd be very tough to do. It would have to be tailor made to an individual pretty much.
Yeah, it's unreasonable, right? It's like ordering a sampler with 10 different appetizers on it and expecting to like every single one. You know what I mean? If it's just not reasonable. And honestly, like okay, there's 12 pops in here. Let's just pretend that what is it? The 10-inch Frankenberry is just a regular size pop. 200 bucks. I believe it comes down to $16 and 60 something cents per pop. That's really not that expensive for Funko Pops because they've been going up in price. Exclusives are usually $15. It doesn't seem that expensive to me. And even if you get stuck with pops you don't want, like if you don't want the Baseball Fury pops, you can easily unload those for $60 the pair on eBay. I don't even think it would take more than 2 days to unload those on eBay if you really
Yeah,
wanted to.
yeah, exactly. I'm glad you brought up that point because I saw some people compare it, complaining about the price, and I'm like, no, I don't see an issue with the price. I mean, like you said, when you break down the numbers, it's like paying for con pops basically, but just like convention pops, you're like if you were try to buy these individually second market, there is no way you would pay just around
Forget it.
$200. No way at all.
No.
So I think the value is there, when you think about the second market there. And then also again gifting to people as well. I mean, I think it's worth it. So yeah, I'm satisfied with it overall. Even the one that I know some people are not a fan of, Jingles. I'm a kind of a sucker for the spastic plastic or fantastic plastic line. So I even like that little guy.
Yeah, see, my least favorites are Jingles, the Huckleberry Hound, and the Pillsbury Doughboy. Just because, of course, they're all like the really Christmassy ones.
Yeah.
And not that I don't like Christmas or anything, but Huckleberry Hound, do I need that with a Santa Claus hat? No, to me that's just filler. The Jingles, eh, maybe if it had like a big mouth with gnarly teeth, something that made it more spastic plasticky, I'd like it more. But to me, it's another kind of like meh pop that I'm probably just gonna give away. But that's about it. I mean, even the Ash pop from Overwatch, the only reason I'm maybe even considering selling that one, I might keep it. It's just because I don't really collect Overwatch. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? It's just I don't really collect it, but I think it's a
yeah.
great looking pop.
Yeah, and I mean the Overwatch line, they do have some amazing pops. I never got into the game because it's like it's one of those things where it feels like if you didn't get in early into it, then you're just going to be kind of lost. And from what
Yeah.
I've heard about that community, they're not the most welcoming to invite in other players. They're
No.
yeah, I heard it's very
A
tough to
video
try to
game
get on board.
community. a, vi-
Yeah, but
a
even
video game
compared to some
community
other
douchebags.
games, yeah, because it's so role based, I think it's tough to try to get into Overwatch. So that's why I'm like I didn't get in early. So that's just not gonna be my thing, basically.
Well,
You
you
know,
know me, man. We've played video games together before. You know how I am. Like, like whenever there's like a raid or something where it's five people need to cooperate, I'm usually the weak link. So I don't really deal with people getting upset over like
yeah.
a video game and oh we could have done it whatever time, but you forgot to shoot one of the zombies. I'd be like, dude, you know what, dude, I don't need this. You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah. I
uh,
play just for fun. Like I've been playing the new Call of Duty, excuse me, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and one of the first things I had to do with the game is to go ahead and just mute all the chat because I'm like I don't even want to hear it.
yeah.
Let me just enjoy the game myself and not hear all the nonsense that you usually hear with online games. So it's just about fun for me. But with the bundle, we can't move on without addressing the little bit of controversy behind it that Funko kept on stressing this is a bundle, and then some of the pops got sold individually at Funko HQ, and some people were upset about that because they felt like they got scammed to a certain extent. And I understand being upset about that, but Funko did put out a message basically saying that was a mistake, it shouldn't have happened, and they're being told to bundle things back up at the HQ. I don't know if I completely buy that or not. Maybe it was an innocent mistake, but it seems a little odd, But
It
bad,
seems
bad.
odd to
It
me
looks
that
like
they would
bad
go back and
business.
bundle them. Like why would you like that? This seems just like such a waste of manpower to go back and bundle things. Like to be honest, I would have had a problem with that if they were to like the next week start selling them individually on the website without warning people. That I would have a problem with. The
Yeah,
fact that they're selling them individually in Everett and over in Hollywood, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, it's just in two stores. When you think about it, I'm pretty sure that the regular size pops are going to be 15 and the Frankenberry is going to be at least 30, maybe 40. Okay. If those people want to buy them all individually, it's going to be more than $200. Okay. When you add in the tax, the time. If you go to Hollywood, guess what? Parking isn't free over there. And, getting to Hollywood is a bitch. If you've ever lived in LA, driving around over there is not, it takes up your whole day and a lot of gas and it's frustrating and it's annoying. So to me, maybe a little bit of a perk of actually getting yourself down to the store would be if I only want to buy the red baseball fury, who cares? You know what I mean? I
yeah,
really don't. I really don't think that's a big issue.
yeah. It's tough for me to try to get upset about it too because of some of the factors you just said, and then also the way I view it, what they do in those stores, that's for again people that made the trip, people that were able to get there, and so it's like. I don't really care what they do in those stores. I'm an outside consumer basically. When they put a store on the East Coast, I'd be grateful for that if that happens. I hope it does happen. But again, what goes on in those stores, I'm not really stressing over that.
Yeah, no, it's. I think there should be some kind of perk
Yeah.
there, and this I don't really mind. I just don't. I don't mind it.
But yeah, like I'm looking forward to receiving my bundle. I know you already got your video up, and I did check it out. Yeah, at first I was trying to avoid the videos because I'm like I don't want to be too influenced with what I'm gonna say, but I know my opinions already pretty solid, so I'm still gonna share those. But yeah, and some of my opinions do line up with yours, like the Huckleberry Hound, whatever. I know why it's in there.
Yeah,
Um,
and I would
I
do the
was
same thing if I were him. If I were Brian Moriarty, I would do the same thing. I'd be
yeah,
like, look,
yeah. You
I
can't
want to
hate on
pop.
that.
Yeah, I want to pop with the most obscure thing in the world, and if I can get it done, I'm gonna do it. And I'm gonna put it in the bundle, and everyone's gonna have to deal with it.
Yeah, and if you love that character, yeah, I think a lot of people would do that same thing. A
Yeah,
lot of people will claim selfless until they're in that position, and then you're gonna take advantage of being in that
of
position.
course.
Yeah, and I will say, well, my last thought on it is with the Pillsbury Doughboy. That was probably for me what the most disappointing to see because it was a while before we got to see what that one looked like. I was looking forward to having a Pillsbury Doughboy because I don't have one yet, and then when I saw him in the Santa outfit, I was like, man, why'd they do that?
I
Because
know.
it's the Pillsbury Doughboy. Like, the guy you poke in the stomach, it's like that's the one that should not have on a costume, so if they just put a Christmas cookie in his hand, that's all they needed to do for me. So I was disappointed to see that. So that one's not gonna stay in my collection for that reason.
Or could you imagine how much better it would have been if it was just the Pillsbury Doughboy with his little belly out, classic chocolate chip cookies, and a glass of milk for Santa?
Yeah,
Don't put any other thing on him. Like just it could have just been chocolate chip cookies. And I'm like, okay, well it's chocolate chip cookies. That's
yeah,
probably the most traditional cookie. I get it. But yeah, the Santa outfit is what kills it for me too.
yeah. That okay. Yeah, it's like I know they wanted to make it Christmassy, and that's something else that people had to keep in mind with this bundle is that they did want to still fit the Christmas theme. I saw some people with some ideas of what they would have liked to have seen, but I'm like, you got to still have the Christmas in there because that's the whole purpose of it, to be holiday oriented.
And what do you think about them going like abstract with it? Like say that Huckleberry Hound, right? Say they wanted to make it kind of Christmassy, but instead of like the Santa hat, they decided to like paint it, I don't know, like all green and white and red, camouflage, metallic or something. Like stuff like that.
I, I
What
would
do you think
like
about
to
that?
see I would like to see Funko take more risks like that. Like they're doing right now. They have that collaboration with Futura for those Star Wars pops at Target.
Hmm.
Very unique designs for those. Like I would like to see Funko kind of take some more risk with the characters. I actually just talked about that in a video. Something I like about other collectibles companies is that they really play around with the designs of characters, whereas I feel like Funko stays very true to the representations of characters from movies and TV and things like that. I want to see Funko play around with the design some more. So I definitely would be down for that.
It could be a licensing thing with a lot of things, but I think with properties like Huckleberry Hound, I really don't think there's a bunch of companies just busting the doors down of Hanna-Barbera trying to get that Huckleberry Hound license, right? I
Yeah,
feel like with something like that, they would have a lot of freedom
yeah.
to really do what they want. Maybe not so much with like Drax, but I think with Huckleberry Hound, they probably do have a lot of leeway.
But with some super popular characters, they should be able to play around because other companies do it, like Batman, Spider-Man. There's so many different variants of those characters out there that why not take some risk with the Funko Pops as well? Again, I don't know what all the dealings are behind the scenes, but it would be nice to see more of that, more things going on like what they're doing with Futura. That'd be pretty interesting to go more. Like I hate to compare them in this way because I know Kid Robot is a very different company, but Kid Robot has some very eye-catching stuff. So yeah, it'd be nice to see
Yeah.
Funko mix it up some.
Well, Kid Robot's whole thing is collaborations, right?
Yeah,
Like everything. I mean, they have the one mold, and it's basically like the way classic vinyl collectible art toy companies have always worked. And Funko, I do consider them, a vinyl collectible company. And yeah, it would be nice if they did do a few more collaborations with some of these artists because they're the ones that really think outside the box. I mean, you look at a Dunny, it's similar to a Funko Pop where it's this little mold, it's got the ears, it's got these proportions on the body, and they just let the artist go wild with it. And if you guys look up Kid Robot Dunnies, Dunny, and I think Dunny means toilet in Australia, but it means collectibles over here. But if you look those up, you can just see the variation in what these artists can do with just a simple little mold.
and it goes beyond that too because they do have more than the Dunnies. They have a lot of figures like
Mhm.
their Simpsons figures look nothing like Simpsons figures from other companies. Like they really go wild with those. They have some Bob's Burger stuff that gets out, kind of outrageous too. Very unique looking. So yeah, they got a lot of going on, and I don't know if Funko could go that wild with things, but yeah, I think it'd be cool to see them play around with some designs more.
Yeah. Well, on the flip side of that, though, also, Kid Robot is extremely expensive compared to
Yeah,
Funko.
yeah.
I mean, a little tiny Kid Robot figure is like $13 in a blind box. You know what I mean? Or like when they put out I remember they put out these original I want to say like I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago, these vinyl figures of the gorillas. And they looked so good, but of course, they're like $50 each, but they look amazing. But
Yeah,
they're very
and
expensive.
it could be with Funko, it can be like they're doing with Futura, where they're with one retailer, they do cost a little bit more, but if you're into that, that's an option for you. So that it could be just an option thing. I don't think that needs to take over Funko, but it would be nice to have just that option, for people that are really into things that are unique like that.
Ooh, you know what they should do it with? Screw all the licensed characters. They should do it with Freddy Funkos.
True.
Give
Yeah.
have just the straight up Freddy Funko and go like, look, it's gotta have this head on it. It's gotta have a crown, and the body has to somehow kind of be like this, and let artists go crazy with it, and
And you know
have
what
like
they
a street artist Freddy
yeah.
Funko line.
And they've done that, like with charity events, like to raise money. They've done that where they actually gave artists, a particular mold of Freddie Funko and had them just go wild with it, and then they like auction them off or whatever they did with
Oh,
them.
that's true at San Diego Comic Con, right? They
But
were like
yeah,
18 inches or something.
yeah, but they haven't done that, widely for the public though. So I mean, that is something they absolutely could do. That would be very interesting to see.
I think that would be an amazing thing for them to do. I guess it would just take the right artist, right? One that's doesn't got a problem with corporations, one that's creative, one that's relevant. I think that would be the tricky part is finding the right artist.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Now, are you good with the bundle there? Like, I think we said a lot about it, but do
No,
you
I
have any
think
final thoughts on it?
no, I think that yeah, I think this is my final thoughts. I think on my video I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. Um, for a blind bundle, I think I got my money's worth, and anything that I would want to get rid of might not be the easiest because there's going to be a lot out there, but I could get a little bit of money back, and I think it's fine.
Okay. Well, I do want to go ahead and kind of move ahead here and talking about taking some risk. You saw the Wonder Woman 1984 trailer, of course.
Yes.
I've seen it. I've watched it a couple of times actually. I like that they're taking some risk with that movie. I mean, some of the risks concern me a little bit, but overall, I mean, even like when they first did the first poster of Wonder Woman, it's like that looks nothing like I expected, based off of the first movie where it's the very 80s color and she's wearing the gold outfit and all of that. And they are fully embracing that 80s style in this latest trailer, or I guess you say the first full trailer. So,
Hmm.
yeah, what are you like? What were your initial impressions of the trailer when you
So
saw it?
my initial impression was I watched the trailer, and when it was done, I was just kind of like, eh. Then I tend to be someone that watches trailers just one time, and I don't like to rewatch them too many times. I like to like kind of forget about them, then watch the movie and experience the movie without thinking about it too much and spoiling it for myself, right?
Yeah,
But then I went back and watched the trailer again because on the first one I was like, okay, so who is the villain or what's going on? So I like that they didn't really spell everything out. Um, and I like the 80s aesthetic. I like the music, and I really liked at the end. I actually couldn't tell if that was Wonder Woman or not, but when she comes out in that gold,
oh yeah,
like,
that's her.
oh man, that thing is awesome.
Yeah, that armor is actually from Kingdom Come, the comic. They had some different looks for some of the heroes, and she
Oh
wore that armor
yes,
there. Yeah,
yeah, it does look familiar, but I was like, it looks familiar, but I can't put my finger on it.
yeah, and there's actually already the rumor of a pop of that, which is not going to be a surprise at all. I think there's going to be statues and everything based off of that now because that is a pretty cool look for her.
I mean, it looks awesome, and see, this is I'm not I don't want to get off on a tangent, but if they do that pop, this is what I wish Funko would do. Make that pop chrome, but make her face flesh color. If you're gonna do something chrome, do it like how they did the Colossus pops. I think that was
Yeah,
perfect. They don't have to make the whole dang thing chrome or put out a gold chrome and a black chrome and a blah 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 chrome in a regular common version too. Just make it chrome, but make her skin color and make it like just chrome the parts that are supposed to be chrome. I think
yeah,
that would look amazing.
yeah. I think the reason Funko does the all chrome is because I'm pretty sure the materials are cheap and it's easy to do that way, when you're just focusing on one color and people buy them up, regardless. So,
But you can
if
paint over it. You can
yeah.
paint over the chrome. That's what they did to
Oh
Colossus.
yeah. Oh
Colossus
yeah.
looks like he's all chrome, and they just painted over it. I mean, I
Oh
think it
yeah,
looks
I
great.
know. I know, I agree with you, but I'm saying like from a business standpoint, if people are gonna buy the all chromes and that's easier to produce, I think that's why we keep seeing those now. I know some
Yeah,
people keep complaining about the chromes, but as long as people are snatching them up,
true.
then they're gonna keep making them.
Yeah, I looked up this Kingdom Come artwork for Wonder
It's
Woman.
Alex
Yeah,
Ross,
it's
dude.
yeah, it's
Alex, yeah.
awesome.
Alex Ross's artwork is, yeah, it's insane. Like how photorealistic it can be. Yeah, and his designs, yeah, he's amazing. Kingdom Come is a really good story too.
And
But
there's this one here. I see her. She's got her armor and she's got like the American flag going and an axe. I'm
yeah,
like, dang, that's bad. That's bad.
yeah, he's really awesome. I like the way he does Shazam too, and his older version of Superman and all that. Yeah, it's really good. But yeah, the Wonder Woman 1984 trailer. When I first saw it, I was I like the style of it. I like that it seems like it's gonna have a lot of action going on. The I gotta like go ahead and get into things that worried me just a little bit. Bringing back Chris Pine's character is like what's his name,
Yeah,
Trevor?
I forget, dude.
It's like it's like you're bringing him back, and it's like, are you gonna have to like let him? Is she gonna have to say goodbye to him again? Because like I don't know. I feel like they have kind of given up on the shared universe, you know. So I don't know if they're kind of retconning things to where he can stay around, or if he or is he just gonna be basically this like lone plot device, and he's gonna disappear again or whatever. It's like I just don't. It would be very odd to see her have to say goodbye to him again, basically, to let go of him again.
So so the second time I watched the trailer, what popped into my head, and I'm almost willing to bet $1,000 on this, is that I feel that in the movie, Chris Pine's character is going to be somehow linked to the bad guy.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
feel like he's like, maybe he's a projection, like that they put it in her head and he doesn't even exist, or he's some kind of weird clone technology, something. And yeah, it's gonna be turned
Well,
into her having to kill
yeah.
him. It's gonna be annoying.
They almost said it outright because Maxwell Lord, he's the main villain. I mean, he basically said you can have whatever you want. So he's manipulating things. So he might have an effect on him. I think he really will have an effect on Chris Pine's character being there, and then also maybe even have something to do with Kristen Wiig's character becoming Cheetah, which that still worries me. I'm glad they didn't show Cheetah yet because I mean, take the time, make sure it looks as best as can, before you show it to us. But we know what happened with Ares in the first movie. If they have another
Uh,
horrible CGI villain transformation, that's going to be so disappointing.
yeah, because to me, like I generally liked Wonder Woman, and I'll forgive a movie if the third act isn't perfect, but that third act in Wonder Woman was so bad that it actually did ruin the movie for me. I'm like, I can't watch this movie because the ending is just way too bad. It's just I don't like it.
Yeah,
And
and it's
I hope they don't do that with this one, like you say, but they
yeah.
might, or they might go with Kristen Wiig not being like the full-on half cheetah. Like she could just be wearing a costume, which would be kind of lame, but I don't know.
I've seen concept art, but I mean, you never know if that's legit or not. I feel like they have to really make Cheetah look like Cheetah, because she is Wonder Woman's like most notorious villain, So I feel like they have to go there, but Kristen Wiig, I love her as an actress. I think she's great for the most part. Most of the movies I've seen her in, this still feels like an odd fit. But I hate to be that comic book fan that says why'd they cast that person and then it's total foot and mouth later on.
Yeah.
So maybe she will be able to play the viciousness too. That's what I'm worried about. Can she really go dark with it when the character changes? That's what I really want to
I
see.
think so. I think she can, mostly because I think just people that are comedians in general are very in touch with the dark parts of their souls. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
why they're able to tap into our insecurities and make fun of it, and that's why we think it's funny, because people that are comedians are very in touch with that part of themselves, and that's why I think some of them, like say like Adam Sandler, when he wants to, of course he's a goofball and all of his movies are pretty horrible, but when he wants to be kind of dark, he can tap into those parts of
Yeah.
himself and be pretty menacing and pretty evil, in movies. And I think Kristen Wiig can do that. I think in I don't know if you saw Mother, she's got a small role in that where she's like a publicist or something like that. But
Yeah.
it's not a comedic role, and it's not an overly serious role either. But I think she did that well. And I think what else did I see her in?
But that that
Adventureland.
was the most left field cameo though,
Yeah,
like
it
it
was
because it
weird.
felt like it came. I was like, wait, what? Like it,
Yeah.
it took me out of the movie for a moment because it's so unexpected.
It's weird, but she's put into this weird kind of situation. I felt like she could handle herself, and to be honest, like I never really looked at Kristen Wiig like that. But man, in this trailer when she walks in that black dress, I'm just like,
Yeah,
Madonna Mia. I'm like, man, like we got
yeah,
Gal Gadot over here, but Kristen Wiig ain't falling far behind, and partial to the blondes there. And I was like, she's looking pretty dang good.
yeah. And I wonder if that's part of where she's already starting to change. I wonder if that's what's going on there.
Oh,
But
kind of like the Selena Kyle kind of.
yeah, it's like that slow transformation before she goes full on cheetah. We'll see what happens with that.
Oh,
But
kitty girl.
yeah, I really like though the whole 80s aesthetic and just how glossy and bright this movie is. It's sort of that contrast to what Marvel's doing with Black Widow. Although
Oh
and
yeah.
although I gotta say, I hate to compare these movies, but everybody's gonna do it. I mean, you just can't avoid that because it took so long for Marvel to finally give Black Widow a movie, and a lot of people feel the timing is way late, but at least better late than never. But I almost feel like from what the Black Widow trailer was, I wanted it to be even more gritty. I
Hmm.
really wanted more of a Atomic Blonde type of vibe going on. They got that a little bit in there, but I'm worried about them too. This is an issue with comic book movies in general, where it's that third act, throw all the CGI, all the money on the screen, and I feel like that's not completely necessary.
No, I mean, I know Winter Soldier had the big finale, right? But I'm kind of hoping more for like a Winter Soldier type of movie, even though because Black Widow isn't a funny character, right? Black Widow's probably been funny in the movies maybe twice, right?
Yeah.
Um, it- but they can't also make a straight up spy movie because then it's not a comic book movie anymore, right? It's just like a spy movie. Um, and I don't know. I feel like there's a good balance in the trailer. I feel like her family, especially the dad, right, is going to be pretty comedic. I mean, because he already looks funny,
Mm.
and that's going to be the comic relief in it. And it does feel like it's going to be a little bit more grounded because it is. I don't know if it's an origin story, but it is what like it's a prequel.
Well,
So
it's
she's not going
they.
to be saving the world
Uh,
yet, you know?
yeah. This actually, I'm kind of surprised by when it takes place, and I don't think this is a spoiler. This is really out there in the media, but this actually takes place during the time period after Civil War. No, no, after Winter Soldier, I think. It's basically around the time period where she's on the run, like where she's on the run and the other heroes are on the run. So it's
Oh,
somewhere after Civil War, or like it might actually be after Civil War, before Endgame, and before Infinity War as well. Like it's somewhere in there, where she's on the run basically.
I kind of like that because then I imagine what they're going to do is going to be the story of her on the run, but then they're going to splice in bits of her origin. So we'll
Yeah,
have
and
that
yeah,
single origin story. I like
yeah,
that.
yeah, I like that too. That they can go further back, and it does explain that gap in time. Like, where was she? What was going on with her after? I keep saying Civil War. I'm going back and forth between Civil War and Winter Soldier because
Hmm.
I can't remember exactly which movie it comes right after, but I know it's regardless. Is I think it's
Around that
after both
era.
of them. Yeah, it's in that area. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Of course.
That's smart too because
Mm.
if they decided to do a prequel, because what Black Widow in the movie is what she's got to be what nearing 40,
Yeah,
right? And if they do a prequel, it's got to be when she's a teenager or barely 20, and Scarlett Johansson just cannot pull 20 years old off anymore. And I don't want to
yeah,
see another movie with, somebody that's de-aged throughout the whole thing.
yeah, yeah. It can be distracting. I don't want to
Especially
side.
for a woman. I feel
Yeah,
like for a woman that's insulting. Could you
yeah.
imagine?
And I really don't want to sidetrack us, but that's part of the reason why I haven't checked out the Martin Scorsese movie yet on Netflix, just because I know that the aging thing is going to take a little bit to get used to with those actors. I'm still going to check it out, of course. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on the name. What's the name of that movie again?
The Irishman.
Yeah, The Irishman. I haven't gotten around to that yet. The runtime and the de aging is kind of holding me up from getting to it, and
Well, I
also
wanted to
the
talk about that a little bit when we talk about what other stuff we're watching, because I have my
yeah.
thoughts on that too.
Well, I'll just say real quick, him taking shots at Marvel kind of bugs me too, to be honest, and that's part of the reason why I haven't gotten to it. But
Yeah, I'm like maybe you should ask Marvel how they get the de-aging done so well.
yeah, really, yeah. But when it comes down to it, I think I'm going to enjoy both of these movies, Wonder Woman 1984 and Black Widow. I think they're both going to turn out really well, and I think people are going to come out, to the theaters for the Wonder Woman because the first one was so good. I think people are hyped for that one. I hope that people don't just talk up Black Widow and then they don't show up in the theater. I hope they go out and support the movie, and I'm looking forward to see what they do with Taskmaster too. That's one of my favorite villains, and s- there's already these theories going around about who is he and who is, like I hope they don't change who he is. I feel like Taskmaster is Taskmaster. He is that guy. If they suddenly make him some other character from the comics, I don't know how I feel
Yeah,
about that.
I don't like that. I'm not too. Taxmaster was never one that was on my radar as a kid. It just happened that I just didn't read. I think it just happened to not have any books that had Taskmaster as the villain in it. So it wasn't somebody I'm aware of. I don't even know who he is. I don't really know anything about him except for that he's like an expert with like every weapon, right?
Yeah, well, he has basically he can look at somebody performing an action, and then just by looking at it, he can repeat it. So basically,
Okay.
the longer you fight him, the more dangerous he becomes because he can start to pick up your moves and counter you and everything. Like he's copied moves from like he's apparently he's so good with that skill, like he can hold his own against multiple Avengers at one time.
Okay. So he's basically like a artificial intelligence learning, like a learning chess computer that can learn from other chess players and use their own moves against them, basically.
Yeah, yeah. And to be clear, people, we're not saying he's a robot, but yeah, yeah. Basically, he can pick up moves from other people and imitate them perfectly.
Yeah, see, that's pretty interesting. I don't know. I think between Wonder Woman and Black Widow, if you were to give me the choice right now, you can stream Wonder Woman or Black Widow on your TV right now. I think I would pick Black Widow just because I like Scarlett Johansson. And I'm kind of interested to see how that ties into the Marvel universe now that you say the time frame. And I do think that the villain is interesting, and I just feel like it's gonna be something that I'm more interested in. But I I do want to go see Wonder Woman as well because of this 80s aesthetic. Although to me, I think Black Widow has more of a potential of being a. I feel like if I would gamble that Black Widow is going to be pretty decent to good, where Wonder Woman can be very very good or it can be very very bad. Like I don't. I really dislike Chris Pine being in it again. I don't even like him as an actor. So if he's in it the whole time as Wonder Woman's like I don't know, in the video games where you're on those missions where you have to keep somebody safe,
Yeah.
like if that is going on throughout the whole movie, it's gonna annoy me.
Well, I think they're trying to show that that's not going to be the case because I noticed in the trailer they had this moment of extreme action with her where she's leaping into the air, but then immediately after that you see him fighting too, So yeah, and I didn't get that impression from the first movie either. Even though she's very powerful, I feel like he's a well trained soldier. So
Hmm.
yeah, hopefully he won't be that annoying tag along basically. But it's
Yeah.
just they got to stick the landing though when it comes down to it with that movie. No pun intended there, but they really got to stick the landing with that movie for it not to basically just upset audiences with how they handle him in the end.
I think too, like I guess what I would want to see is I just want to see Wonder Woman like coming in like a goddess and like wrecking shop and not having to worry about like, oh, but my boyfriend. You know what I mean? Like, do they
Yeah,
really need to insert that in every single movie? Really? Like,
I
I don't know.
well they avoided it pretty well in the first movie. I think they pulled back it enough, just enough with the romance where you didn't feel like it was forced in. You know what I'm saying? Like I like the choices that they made with it, where she always felt like she was in control pretty much, except she was sort of that fish out of water, and obviously they're playing off of that with this movie where now he's the fish out of water.
Yeah.
So I mean that could be, and I hope it's not too cutesy. I mean they ended the trailer with that little joke, but hope they don't do too much of that.
Yeah, I did think that was funny. Yeah, that was
It
funny.
was funny.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just don't want them to like overdo it, to try to be a comedy. Let it be natural. Let this be a natural mix of action and comedy and drama and all of that.
where I don't want it to be like where she's, you know, being incredible and then all of a sudden the bad guy kidnaps Chris Pine and now she has to like, now now they have him so she has to like back down and it's just I don't want any of that.
I hope they know better than that too. But the director though, they got the same director for the movie, so that makes me feel a little confident about it. And with Maxwell Lord, his casting, I can't think of that actor's name, but I know I've seen him other things. He was in the second Kingsman movie. He's a
Oh,
very interesting choice.
Pedro
Is it
Pedro
Pascal?
Pascal or Pasquale or something like that.
Yeah,
He's also the Mandalorian.
yeah, absolutely. He's a really good choice, I think, to play
And
that villain.
Oberyn Martell from Guardians of the Galaxy, Game of Thrones.
Okay, yeah,
I think that's what made him famous was being the Viper.
yeah, yeah. Um, Now with the Mandalorian, you brought it up, so you want to get into sharing?
Segueing into the Mandalorian.
Yeah,
Speaking about Pedro Pascal, you know, if I didn't know that was Pedro Pascal under the mask, I wouldn't recognize him from the voice or his body language or anything. I'm like, sometimes I feel like maybe Disney could have saved a little money and just gotten them some no-name actor to be the Mandalorian. To be honest.
but he's so good though. Like his voice is great. He's very restrained when he needs to be. Um, I
I
do
just don't
want.
recognize him. I don't recognize his
Yeah,
voice as him.
I didn't either, honestly. And like when they said who it was, like when I saw who it was and everything, I was like, really? Like
Yeah.
that did surprise me. I do. I'm enjoying the series the way it's going. How many episodes has it been at this point?
I want to
I
say it's
can't.
been 7 or 8. No, six, I think.
Okay.
Or 5.
Does
I don't know. I'm way off.
yeah, but out of all the episodes thus far, it has a pretty good track record for me. There's only been one episode for me where it felt like a TV show. You know what I'm saying? Like most of them feel like mini movies, which
Let
I
me guess.
love.
Was it how fake the Walker looked?
Yeah, that's the one. And him protecting his village along with Gina Carano's character. It's like that really felt like I saw somebody say this, so I'm kind of quoting somebody else here, but somebody said it felt like an episode of the A Team, and I'm like, yeah,
A
absolutely.
little.
It's like
To
let's
me,
go.
it felt like Seven Samurai a little bit.
Yeah, it did have that vibe as well, but it just didn't
Or
feel
going
as cinematic as the other episodes.
It didn't like. I feel like it was really cool when they reveal that there's like a walker, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool the way they revealed it because you never really see like you see these walkers and you see all these big machinery in the movies, but you don't see like what it actually does to the forest or the logistics of it, like the logistics of having something like that for real, like on a planet that doesn't have a lot of armament. Yeah, it would be like having a nuclear like bomb.
Yeah.
And then when I finally did see it, and of course they made it in the dark with the glowing eyes and stuff, I'm like, why are the eyes glowing? And why does it look just so fake? But that was the only real thing I could criticize about it.
Well, for me, I don't know. It's just something about the setting that felt very much staged. I mean, I know it's staged, obviously, but it just felt more staged than the other episodes to me. And even that fight that he had with Gina Carano's character felt very staged to me. How it's like they just went out on the side of the building and they got into this fight and they're back inside. It's like that was just kind of awkward
It's
to
very
me.
corny. It's like it's
And
such an old trope.
yeah, and the aliens that were attacking these people in that village, it's like wow, those D&D players are really riled up. That's like the way they look to me. Like they just didn't look as interesting as a lot of other things we've seen thus far. So that was the one episode that I wasn't crazy about, but I've enjoyed most of the rest of it though.
It's funny that you mentioned that most of it looks staged. Did you know? And I mean, I saw this off one of Grace Randolph's videos. She's a movie reviewer, but she's pretty legit. Like she does her research, so I kind of believe when she says things like this. But she said that she read somewhere, some trade publication or something, that The Mandalorian, the whole thing is shot on a soundstage, even the outside desert scenes, everything. Like everything is on a soundstage.
Now, if that's true, that is impressive. I'll give them
Yeah,
props for
it is
that.
kind of
Yeah.
impressive. And like, but then when you watch it, you do notice some parts where like, okay, that's kind of why it felt that way. But yeah, even when they're going through the desert, all of that, when he's finding that hairy rhinoceros snuffleupagus thing, everything's on a soundstage.
Well, ultimately, I'm sure that cuts way down on production costs. Yeah.
Maybe, who knows? I
So
mean,
if
yeah, they
they,
don't have to travel.
and like I said, if that's true, then they're doing a great job. And it does have me kind of hyped about some of the pops that are coming up. Of course, I know everybody, wants to grab a baby Yoda, and I'm right there with that, or the child. I'm kind of getting used more to saying the child because I think for people that don't really know the time frame of when this episode takes place, I think it actually is confusing some people where they think this really is baby Yoda.
Yeah, I've
you know.
kind of noticed that too. I think some people actually do think it's Yoda.
Yeah,
Um,
but I mean, I thought it would be obvious that no, that's not actually him because this is like you saw the stormtrooper helmets and everything, so you kind of get an idea of when this is going on. But
but we're nerds,
yeah, yeah,
Most people know.
very true.
You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
but I will say my one thing with the series, I really want to see more of the Mandalorian just really being a tough guy, like doing some really impressive things. I felt like we saw that with the first couple episodes, and now he's more. And I understand the character development that he's stepping more into that protector role for the child. But I really want to see him be really awesome at the same time with his weapons and his skills and everything. Like, keep showing us why he is the legend that he is, basically.
Yeah, like I don't know. I think he's been pretty cool so far, and I do think, I mean, one of the things I like about the way they make him fight is that he seems to try to take care of things in the quickest way possible,
Yeah.
which I think is more realistic, right? He's not jumping through the air doing butterfly kicks and all that stuff. It's like, dude, if I can shoot this grappling hook at your leg and pull you and knock you out in just that one move, that's what he's gonna do.
Yeah.
So I do like that kind of aspect on it because with Star Wars, it's kind of tricky, right? Like one of the problems I think that they ran into with the prequels is like, why is Obi-Wan so badass in the prequels, and then all of a sudden over here, yeah, we get that he's old and stuff, but so was like Count Dooku. Count Dooku looked like he was 80 in the prequels, and he was running around, jumping around, doing crazy stuff. How come all of a sudden Obi-Wan in A New Hope is so weak, or even Darth Vader, right? Like
Yeah.
A New Hope takes right after Rogue One, but in Rogue One we see Darth Vader just lay waste to people, and then all of a
Mm.
sudden in A New Hope he doesn't. So it's kind of tricky, right? Like if they make the Mandalorian just too awesome, it also just kind of doesn't fit in. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and I think they at the level that they've done with him thus far, like I'm not saying go overboard with it, but definitely more of like what we saw with the first and second episode. I want to see more of that out of him, basically, and just how, like you said, he's efficient. I want to see more of that though going on, and I do like how you could tell he's very strategic. He uses the environment to his advantage.
Mhm.
He uses basically what's available around to him. It's not just the weapons he has on himself. So I like things like that. I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, that adds to his character too. It lets you know, like, look, this guy isn't a guy that's badass because he has a cool plane or he has cool gadgets. It's like if you give this guy a wooden spear and some land, he'll probably figure out a way to defeat an enemy with that too. You know what I mean? He does. They do,
Yeah.
they do make him seem like he's resourceful.
Yeah, and they're dropping in little things there that I think will, some of the episodes almost feel self-contained, but there is obviously a overall story arc. So I'm interested to see where things are going ahead. I hope that it doesn't start to feel repetitive. That he just goes this place and he has to go find this thing, and protect the child and just keep moving and doing the same thing over and over. I hope that we really get more depth to the overall story, but I'm very interested to see where it's going to go.
Yeah, see, and I'm glad you mentioned that because what they're doing, I think, is something pretty clever. They have the child obviously being the catalyst for the overall story, right? Like what's going to happen to this child? Because something has to happen. This can't end with him taking the child into obscurity and he's going to be raised by, somebody on some planet somewhere and that's how it ends. Or this child is just going to be killed off. There's got to be something that happens. So obviously that keeps me excited about, okay, how is this going to end with this child? Or is it going to go end on a cliffhanger? Who knows? And also the way they're doing it, each, like you say, each story seems serialized or self-contained, which is kind of what George Lucas's original inspiration was for like Star Wars. That's why he starts it in episode 4, because he wanted to make it feel like these were these Saturday morning serials that you're walking into, that you didn't necessarily see the first 3 chapters, but there is an overall story, but you can just pick up where you came in, kind of like comic books or
Yeah, yeah.
those old
Mhm.
school stories. And I do feel like they're doing it with this one, but it's a good balance between overall story and serialization, you know?
Yeah, and I like too that it has some simplicity to it. It also has some deep cut Star Wars things within it. I appreciate that. Now, if you don't mind me, going ahead and mentioning Watchmen, because I feel like that's almost a flip side where initially, we talked about this behind the scenes where I felt like Watchmen was easy to follow early on. I think it has gotten much more complex with these recent episodes to where it's like, okay, at this point, you may have wanted to have read the graphic novel. I see that more now.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, I think we had talked about this before where I think it's the best show on TV. I think it's the bravest show on TV. And it does not care if the audience isn't following along or not, right?
Yeah,
It doesn't treat the audience like we're stupid. Like it starts out, you look at it and it's not normal for black parents to adopt white kids. It's not something you see all the time, but they don't explain it until episodes later.
yeah,
Or you go, why is this guy wearing a tinfoil hat over his head? Why does he look like Rorschach? But they haven't explained it yet. I mean, they
mm,
kind of have, but they kind of have it. And the way they just go from this episode is going to be about Adrian Veidt. This episode is going to be about the comedian or the comedian's daughter, Lori Blake. Or you have to wait to get the answers.
and
They don't
everything
spoon
pays
feed everything
off.
to you. Yeah,
Yeah,
everything pays off, and they don't try to set everything up in the very first 30 minutes of the first episode, and then you're just going through the motions. It's a continual puzzle that needs to be unraveled.
Yeah, even within episodes, there are things that you don't understand at first, and then it pays off so well later on. I absolutely love it. Like especially I would say the latter half of the season, like it started off strong, but it's gotten so much better. And I think, I understand Alan Moore feeling the way that he does, that he doesn't want to see all these things being done with these characters he created. He feels like the graphic novel is enough. That's it. But out of the different things I've seen related to Watchmen, I think this, is a really good follow up. And yeah, I'm appreciate the things that they've done with the series. I'm really enjoying it. The latest episode, with the focus, of course, on should we openly talk about spoilers? It's gonna be tough not to.
Well, I think we should give a spoiler warning. I feel like a lot of people haven't watched it, and even just mentioning characters that show up later could be a spoiler that they're still alive or
Well,
they're still
let me
whatever.
do this then. How about this? Because we both love this series, we think people should check it out. I'm gonna go ahead and bite my tongue, and I think, let's try to avoid the
Yeah.
spoilers because people, you need to check this out. Like it's really good. Things pay off so well. I love the way that they kind of and this is not a spoiler, but the way they even play around with time and all of that,
Yes.
like it's brilliant. It's really good.
They play on time, and I think one of the most realistic ways I've ever seen, the way it could actually work. Of course, it's bearing certain things, right, that are fantastical and unbelievable, but the way they treat how time affects itself, I think is pretty genius.
Yeah, and this series has really made me understand one of the major characters so much more and what that character deals with, because when you start to think about time in a different way, then it's like, wow, that would be very strange, very tough to deal with.
It's a curse.
Yeah, yeah, it's a curse, basically, like a sort of a gift and a curse. And I like too, the idea of dealing, like it's almost impossible to deal with time, even not necessarily even time travel, but just dealing with looking at time in a different way and not possibly run into plot holes and things like that. But I think even those things are addressed in a very interesting way within this series.
Well, yeah, because the way they deal with time isn't like everything else, right? It's almost like accidental. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong. Anybody listening to this show isn't about time travel. It's just one of the characters doesn't experience time like we do, right? So it's not about time travel. And when they do deal with the time stuff, if you read anything about, all these, theoretical physicists or whatever, what they kind of say about what would actually happen if you mess with time, there's nothing good about it. You can't really change things. And I feel like the way they did it in this, obviously, I think they looked into what actual real scientists and physicists have to say about time travel and the manipulation of it.
Yeah, and I think and it also shows too, and it's almost sad when you really think deeply about it. It shows also how some things unfortunately don't change, because the story does, go across different decades and whatnot, and yet still you see the racism, you see the unnecessary violence. There's certain things that just keep coming up over and over, and it's really sad because, like I said, it really shows how much people are not changing enough, not changing
Yeah.
where it really matters, unfortunately.
Yeah, and yeah, the social commentary I think is done really well because yeah, I don't like watching things that like say Crash, okay, that movie Crash. Yeah, the social commentary, what they're trying to say and all that, it's all good things, but when they try to beat it over your head, like you're stupid, right? Like you're too
Yeah.
dumb to like get it. Like you don't need I don't need somebody to tell me like for example that like not even about racism. Like if they make a movie about hey rape is bad, well yeah I already know that, right? Let's get a little bit more thought going
Yeah.
behind that and not just try to make money off of saying something that we all know is true. You know what I mean? To me that's grosser somehow, right? But the way they deal with it in Watchmen is very realistic and it just happens to be what's going on and it moves the plot forward. It's not like they sat there and go, you know what, let's make a show about racism. No, it just
Yeah.
happens to be an aspect of the overall plot.
Yeah, there's so much more to it. Even and I think even more than the original Watchmen series, boy, does this blur the line between what is a hero and like what makes a person a villain is very blurred. And again, I think it kind of shows that people are people when it comes down to it. You know,
Well,
it
it goes to that old thought experiment, right? Like, which is crazy because a superhero TV show is getting into these kind of thoughts. It's where, say you're a doctor, okay, and you have 5 patients that all need an organ transplant. And if they got this organ transplant, they would all survive, all 5 of them. And then you have this other patient over here who's perfectly healthy, right? And has all the organs that would make these 5 people live. Now, is it morally wrong to let all these 5 people live because you don't want to kill this one? But if you kill this one, these 5 people will live, right? So
yeah.
so what do you do? Do you save 5 people and kill one, or do you not kill the one and let 5 people die? Like, what's more? What is the moral right thing to do?
Yeah, yeah, and then a lot of questions are not easily answered. Yeah, and this show, I think it challenges you in a lot of ways too, because it's not things are not very simple. When it comes down to it, there are a lot of tough choices, and people will say, I feel like very often people will try to say what they believe to be the righteous thing, but when you're put in a position, I think you see sometimes there's not always that simple answer.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
man,
it's
it
definitely
is.
no, and what I like about it too, so there's a character that popped up for about 3 minutes, like a superhero character. We're now in episode, we're in the penultimate episode, and we still haven't figured out what that guy has to do with anything else. I know it's going to be answered, but that's kind of what I like about Damon Lindelof's style of storytelling, is that we're sitting here, we got one episode left, and we still have all these questions.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also his weakness because sometimes he doesn't answer them. Most of the time, he doesn't answer them. But I feel like hopefully by now he's kind of learned his lesson. And I feel like this is definitely, he sat down and mapped this thing out. There's no way that he wrote out 2 episodes and is winging it. This is obviously very structured and very well thought out. So I have faith that he is going to answer all these questions.
Yeah, the latest episode really gelled together a lot of things from throughout the season. It still left me somewhat frustrated with one character because, and again, I'm trying my best to avoid spoilers. I'll just say that, there's a particular character, despite being powerful, is also very stubborn at the same time, and it has an effect on a relationship within the show, and it also has an effect on you as a viewer. I think where the guy can almost drive you crazy, but it's like you at the same time you kind of understand where he's coming from at the same. It's just it's tough. And I like a show that's challenging me in this way. You know,
Well, I
something
feel
else
like
I get.
I feel
Oh,
like he has to deal
go
with humans. I think that character you're talking about has to deal with humans in the same
yeah,
way that an adult deals with children, right? Like
mm,
when you're dealing with a 4-year-old, you know what needs to happen. The 4-year-old doesn't. So you have to like sit there kind of convincing them
yeah,
that something is their idea, right? Like
yeah,
say we need to turn the TV off because we need to go to bed. If I just grab that remote and I turn that TV off, that 4-year-old's gonna probably start crying. If I convince that 4-year-old that it's her idea to turn the TV off, then she'll go to bed. You know what I mean?
yeah. I was about to say too, something else that the show has done that's I think really brilliant, and more than I think about it, the more I really appreciate it, is and it's kind of played in the background, although sometimes they do actually show you like a full segment up close. There's actually a documentary about the original Watchmen team that's playing on television while this series is going on. Like in their reality, there is a documentary running on television about the original Watchmen team. And
Yeah, I
there's
love.
some stuff in that documentary that is obviously not true to what happened. And then there are some things that you kind of take at face value. And then they have like basically a full episode dedicated to showing what was really going on with certain characters from the original team. And it opened my eyes because I'm like, wow, that says so much about the world today. How people will just hear a rumor. Sometimes they don't even see the headline themselves. But people will hear like a little blurb on online and they take it and they run with it. Oh, this has got to be true. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
and and that's a lot, it says a lot about the society we live in right now where people don't take the time to dig into things and see what's really going on.
Well, even by the nature of the internet, what happens now is somebody can put something fake out, and then it gets retweeted by a dozen other people, and then it gets reposted on Facebook, and then it gets posted on YouTube, and then people start talking about it in the news. and it could all have been from one fake source, and then people look at it and they go, okay, was somebody else talking about it? And then when you start seeing that, okay, well, it's all over the place, this must be true. I think that's what happens a lot of the time on the internet.
Yeah, and it affects us so much. I'm not going to get into politics. I was about to say it has played a role in politics, though. And things like that. Yeah, it's just, and even getting back to Funko Pop collecting. Sometimes people spread rumors in the community and people take it and run with
Yeah,
it.
it just happened recently when they posted the 18-inch gold Batman. Everybody believed it. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
why wouldn't they, to be honest?
yeah, and then somebody did like a red one, like I guess supposed to be a red chrome giant Batman. And it's like, come on, like sometimes you could take a closer look at the image itself and see where things don't quite add up, so
Well, I think it would have been funnier if they would have been clever with it, right? Like I think a gold chrome Batman, okay, that's fine. Like when you try to like, get one past somebody, like you could easily, yeah, a gold chrome Batman is really believable. If they would have made it like something like he's flocked or something a little weirder,
mm,
and people still believed it, then I think that would have been a lot funnier, to be
yeah.
honest.
But even like, I heard it so much throughout this year. Oh, Funko doesn't have the Masters of the Universe line anymore. Even while they're actually still showing off Master of the Universe related products. You know, there's this rumor just
Right.
steadily floating around that they don't have the license anymore. And it's like, come on, people, please just.
I thought they didn't, because I heard it so many times. I'm like, well, I guess they don't.
But I mean, like they're literally showing that they have new Masters of the Universe items on the way because they have, every year Funko tries a new type of figure. So I guess it's gonna be in 2020 those soda can figures or whatever.
Soda
Have you
can.
seen those yet? It's like these
No.
little figures. I guess they're gonna come in what looks like a soda can, and it's like just a different style figure. They have sort of a retro look to them, but some of those are actually like I saw a He-Man one. I think I may have seen a Skeletor one. I'm not 100% sure, but He-Man for sure. So it's like, yeah, they still have the license, obviously.
Yeah. Well, that would make me nervous if I was a shareholder. I'd be like, no, don't do that. Nobody's gonna buy that.
But they try something new every year. I actually appreciate that about them. But I know they hear how much people just want pops, and maybe that's why with the Cyber Monday it was all pops. Because they just hear so much about we just want pops, basically.
Like I feel like if they are gonna venture into other things, don't compete with your own product. Okay, like what I feel like when they venture into these other vinyl collectibles, um, it's just like, well, you already make a vinyl collectible. You know what I mean? Like people aren't gonna stop. If you want this new series to take off, people kind of have to stop spending their money on pops and start spending it on this. Like, why would you do that? Like, I feel like maybe them concentrating on maybe other aspects of, I don't know, pop culture consumer products would be smarter, like they do with the Loungefly thing. Like I think that's kind of a smarter thing to do, and I feel like that's been more successful than their other kind of like Dorbs and all that, because it doesn't directly compete with what they're already making, I feel.
But at the same time, I kind of understand why they do it because even though it may not appeal to some of us, it still helps to bridge and bring some people into collecting. Like there might be some people that may have been like interested in rock candy figures and they start looking at other stuff or some other product that Funko has had may have caught their attention. Like some people were really into the vinyl 2 packs. So yeah, like I said, it may not be for all of us, but it's helping to bring more people into collecting, and ultimately that's good for us. If the
Yeah,
company
true.
is successful, that's good for us. It's just like Burger King making a taco. Yeah, their taco is horrible, but if it gets people to come through the drive-through, ultimately that's good for them. So it's the same thing with Funko. If they're trying different things, even if it's not necessarily successful in our eyes, if it's keeping interest up, then ultimately it helps.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Now that you mentioned that, yeah, it does make sense on that aspect, but I don't
And
know. For
and
for
while
me,
I'm
they
at it,
haven't come
yeah,
up with a good one yet.
yeah, and while I'm at it, why in the world is that taco still on Burger King's menu? They need to kill that thing.
I had no idea they even had a taco.
Don't touch it. It's so
No,
garbage. It's so garbage.
I
But I'm
mean,
not even gonna get into that. But
I
yeah,
can
that's
barely eat
crazy.
their burgers. That's what they actually make.
But I definitely want to hear. I know I'm kind of jumping topics, but I feel like I almost got to get away from Watchmen. And I know I've been very
Oh,
vague.
one
Forgive
thing
me, but I
before we
just
leave
don't want to
Watchmen.
get
Yeah.
into spoilers. I just don't want to get into spoilers.
No,
What else
yeah,
did you have to
before we
say?
leave Watchmen, before we leave it, right? I did
Mm.
want to say, because we talked mostly about the story and everything, the cinematography, the costume design, the acting, the directing, and the music are all top notch. Like I can watch something if the story is just perfect, right? But the production isn't that great. Watchmen production, there's parts of it that look like a movie.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing that looks, oh, that was a cheap effect, or that was very obviously CGI or whatever. I think that all the movie making aspects are there,
Yeah.
along with the story.
Yeah, the special effects are really good. In fact, the destruction of New York that they showed in one episode was better than in the movie because I thought
Yeah.
that was one of the weaker parts of the movie, the destruction of New York. But they showed it much better, better version of it within the TV series, and the effects in general have been, impressive. I was pretty worried about how they were going to pull off the effects in certain areas, but I've been pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, me too. Especially with some of the characters and things like that. I was like, you know what, that actually looks really good.
Yeah. Yeah, so there again, check out Watchmen, people. If you haven't done so, it's definitely worth taking a look at. As a matter of fact, that's what got me to go ahead and get like a HBO add-on with my Hulu account. Yeah, that convinced me to go ahead and do that.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move on. So we don't actually end up talking about any kind of spoilers.
Now,
Before I
I
interrupt
do
you, do
want to
you have
say,
anybody you want to talk about?
you mentioned earlier that you were waiting on some people don't realize this, but with Rick and Morty, they don't actually get the full season until like a while after the season has completely aired. So I know you're not caught up on it, but
Yeah.
you mentioned earlier about how they're doing so many Funko Pops. Crazy enough, I'm not burned out yet because I am such a big Rick and Morty fan. And I actually looking forward to some of the characters that were just revealed. My one gripe though is I think we need more side characters
Yeah.
because there are so many versions of Rick and Morty themselves, and some of them not. I don't feel like they were completely necessary. Like Shrimp Rick and Shrimp Morty. If somebody's happy with that, cool. But I just want to see more of the side characters because Rick and Morty in each episode has amazing side characters that actually are memorable. So I'd like to see more of that moving forward.
Yeah, because yeah, of course the whole thing is Rick and Morty, but how many Ricks have there been? Like 20? Like
It's an
more? I don't
absurd
know.
number. Like there were already before I even started watching the series and collecting, there were already a bunch of Rick and Morty figures. So it's a bit absurd. It seems like every wave there's a couple of new variants of those characters. So yeah, I definitely want more variety moving forward.
And I guess part of it too is it goes back to action figures and stuff like that. Like, when you make the first wave have He-Man and Skeletor, the second, third, fourth, fifth waves will have side characters, but you kind of always have to have a He-Man in there for people that come in and are new collectors, right?
Yeah.
Like, but you also don't need to have five or six He-Mans in every single wave.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Just
and
one
that's what
or two.
Funko has been doing. Because
Yeah.
you mentioned like the hologram clone Ricks. Like yes, there were multiple ones in the episode, but to actually try to put them all out is a bit overkill.
Yeah.
I can understand some people feeling like that's overkill, even though I'm a sucker that's getting trying to get all of them, but still, not
Well, I've just
everybody
been
is
learning
that
to
way.
wait. I've just been learning to wait. Like, I've kind of noticed with Funko, it's just like, I don't know, unless it's something really like an obscure character in whatever wave, I'm like, no, that's gonna get about five or six variants. I'm just gonna wait, and I'm glad I did because now I have a hologram Rick in the bundle. I'm glad I didn't go buy one because I don't need that many hologram Ricks. I just need one. If I really like, if I watch the episode, I really like it, then I'm go, okay, that'd be nice to have one.
Mm.
I don't need five.
I already know I'm probably going to end up getting rid of the common because now that I'm realizing that most of them glow, having one that doesn't glow is going to annoy me a little bit,
Yeah.
so I'm probably going to end up getting rid of that one. But yeah, I'm not going to say too much about that. I'll just, because I know you're not caught up on Rick and Morty season 4, I'll just say out of the 4 episodes, I've really enjoyed 3 of them. One of them annoyed me just a little bit because it had such an old, like it was based off of such a, to me, kind of played out movie reference. So that, and when I realized the whole episode was going to be like that, I was like, oh, really? Like you're taking all this time to parody this movie that I so don't care about
What
anymore.
movie is it?
Ocean's 11.
Oh yeah, I mean, come on.
And I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
like
that is a little played out.
yeah, exactly. So, but the other episodes I have enjoyed. The latest one was pretty wild. So definitely check it out when you get the chance. And this is going to be a really short season. I think it's just going to be 6 episodes, if I'm not
Yeah, I saw
mistaken.
that. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, this it's almost like the South Park thing. Is South Park is going along, but South Park's been around forever now. But yeah, they've reduced their numbers of episodes over time.
So other things I'm watching. So we were talking about The Irishman.
Yeah,
Now I did watch it, and it made me think about how remember Scorsese was talking about how Marvel movies are roller coasters.
yeah,
It made me think about how old Martin Scorsese movies were roller coasters. Like Goodfellas, when
yeah,
you think about it, that movie's a damn roller coaster. The whole
absolutely.
thing, it's just like you're up and down, crazy music. Like that's a roller coaster. The Irishman is a lazy river ride. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's good. I like it. The acting is good, but I had to watch that thing in like 4 parts, dude.
Most people are. I actually saw this little article that came up, and it said that like only like 18% of people I think are watching it all together at one time. Like the majority of people are watching it in segments, basically.
It's not exciting enough to be that long.
It almost makes you feel like they should have just from the beginning went ahead and split it up like they did the extended edition of Hateful Eight.
Yeah, maybe they should have done that. Or I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff they could have cut out, um, and made it just. There's just a lot of stuff that's just unnecessary in there, I think.
Yeah, but I feel like the main reason they kept it all as one movie is because of course they're going for awards. Even though Oscars, has not been kind towards Netflix. A
Or
lot of
Martin
the
Scorsese.
yeah, basically yeah. So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with that during award season. We'll have to see about that. But yeah, like I said, I haven't gotten to the Irishman yet. I'm going to end up watching it in parts. Eventually here, I'll get to it. Anything else that's you've been into lately?
With the Irishman, going back to the awards thing, I think it's not gonna win any awards. I think if
Yeah.
it gets nominated for anything, it might be Joe Pesci might get
Mm.
nominated for a supporting actor. That's it.
Um, and to be fair, this year has had some impressive movies. So if it doesn't, I wouldn't necessarily call it a snub if it doesn't get a lot of love. And to be fair, I haven't seen it yet, so I can't completely judge. But there is a lot out this year that has been good. So yeah, I think there are some serious contenders basically for the awards.
I mean, talking about gangster shows, like one of my favorite show of all time is The Sopranos. And actually, after watching The Irishman, I was like, I really don't have anything to watch right now because I don't watch too much stuff at the same time. I'm watching Watchmen, I'm watching The Mandalorian. I was watching Silicon Valley, but that ended. So I was like, and I went back and started rewatching The Sopranos. Still, honestly, if you want to watch something that's a gangsters, it's kind of funny. 50-minute episodes. Doesn't get much better than The Sopranos, to be honest.
Yeah, I never like watched the full series. I watched a couple of seasons. And then I just saw like random episodes here and there. So now that I actually do have this HBO add-on, I guess I can actually go back and start it from the beginning if I want to. Even though at this point, so much of it is spoiled for me. Like I've
Yeah.
seen so many clips of major characters being killed, but still, I think it actually probably would be worth it to check it out. Even though I know that series, like most series, dealt with sort of a change in the guard, different people behind the scenes, and that did affect the quality of episodes here and there.
I feel
I'm
like
still
I feel
interested
like it
though.
was what David Chase the whole time. Um, but
It
yeah, I don't know.
seemed like there was a shakeup at some point where
Maybe.
there was like a long amount of time in between some seasons. I can't remember exactly what was going
Oh
on.
yeah. I mean
Yeah,
that
but
always happens with HBO though. HBO sometimes takes like, I mean, sometimes it'll take more than a year and a half between seasons.
yeah. But yeah, like I think that's what I'm leaning towards, honestly, is going back and watching some older things because not that I'm against a lot of new series that are out there, but something has got to really grab my attention, from the beginning for me to give a new season or a new series a try, just because, I hate to invest the time into a series and then it just goes nowhere.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like Sopranos. I've rewatched the series like several because it did come out a while ago, and I've had the DVDs ever since the very beginning, and I have rewatched the series at least 5, 6 times. So even if you know what's coming, I feel like the way it's told and the way the characters are, um, is enough to where even if you know if who's gonna die, it's still
Yeah.
enjoyable. I
Yeah, I
think.
can understand that because I mean, Breaking Bad, I've watched the whole series at least twice, and I can still go back and watch that again because it's so good. The Wire, even though The Wire, had some dips in quality, especially that final season. Still, I can go back and watch it again because it's just so entertaining. Um,
Yeah, the final
yeah,
season of
yeah,
The Wire really let it down for me too. I mean, it was still good. It just wasn't as good as the rest of The Wire. But
yeah,
judge like if you compare the last season of The Wire to other shows, it's still better than those.
yeah. And literally, what happened in the end is that the creators, because I actually saw something about this, the creators actually felt like he hadn't covered certain bases and he just wanted to basically make sure he covered those before the series ended. And that's the way it felt. It felt like somebody's trying to wrap up, oh, let me make sure I address homelessness, let me make sure I address
Yeah.
what's going on in the media. And yeah, it felt somewhat forced.
Yeah, I didn't like that either.
But yeah, as far as series that are ongoing right now, I'm trying to think of what else I'm into. I mean, I did enjoy the first season of The Boys. um, and I'm interested to see where that goes. That is a pretty crazy series, and definitely not for everybody because it's way more gory than I expected at times. But
Yeah, The Boys is
I'm
really
enjoying it.
good. I really liked it, and I was one of those people that thought because The Boys came out like before Watchmen did, and I was like, oh man, it looks like The Boys is gonna steal Watchmen's thunder because I mean, how can it get better than this superhero TV show, right? Like, superhero TV shows aren't very good, but this one's great. And then Watchmen came out, and I felt like Watchmen blows The Boys out of the water. I mean,
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, there's no doubt about that. It's on a different level. I think The Boys,
very different shows though, like you said.
yeah, The Boys, it does have that issue where you could tell, and I know it's from because of the creator. Yeah, I think the creator, if I'm not mistaken, is Mark Millar. Um, I could, look that up to be sure about that, but in fact, I will pull that up real quick. But yeah, I feel like they're obviously going for some shock value there, and that kind of gets in the way of my enjoyment of the series at time. But I do appreciate that, like Watchmen, it has characters that are complex. Like even some characters I absolutely want to hate, they have those moments where I'm like, oh, I almost feel bad for them. Like when you see certain things that they deal with. So
Yeah, they have
it's
proper
it's
motivation.
yeah, it's interesting in that way. You look, you see that they're not just straight up evil, that there are some things they're dealing with too. So yeah, it's really interesting in that way. But yeah, definitely not on the level of Watchmen though. But they're kind of different. Like I guess if you want something that's more, um,
You
if you
know, you
like
know what
more action oriented, like if you want more action, I think The Boys has more action going on. Definitely, it's wilder basically.
it's definitely more accessible. Like you don't have
Yeah.
to really have known anything before watching it. The story is pretty simple to follow along. It's pretty straightforward. It's one thing causes another, and you just kind of yeah. There's a few twists and turns, but there's nothing really too deep to think about
Yeah.
with
Oh,
the
it's by
boys.
and by the way, it's by Garth Ennis, not Mark Millar, but it kind of reminds me of something that Mark Millar would do. But it's by Garth Ennis though.
Oh, you meant the original story? Yeah, Garth
Yeah,
Ennis
yeah, the original.
is
Yeah,
very over the top. Very over the
yeah.
top.
Which
Another show that I really liked, it's completely different. It's a comedy, is The Righteous Gemstones, and I believe that's on HBO too. I thought maybe HBO or Showtime, one of those two, but I thought that was hilarious. And I think Walton Goggins in it is just so funny.
oh, I haven't seen that series, but he's a good actor. He really is good.
Oh, dude, he plays like this elder, like this older kind of down on his luck televangelist in it, man. It is so dang funny.
Yeah, he's got one of those voices that make you kind of like pay attention right away when you hear him start speaking. He's pretty good.
Oh, and he totally plays up like because he does a really good southern accent. Well, I think he is southern, right? But he plays it up in this, because he's like one of these like televangelist guys, and he's a slime ball. But then but he's not the main character. The main character is Danny McBride, and he's like a televangelist too. Definitely recommend that one.
Okay, well, I guess when it comes down to, I just need to check out HBO. That's
Right.
really what it comes down to. I check out HBO and see what's going on.
I think the
Um,
Righteous Gemstones. I think it's just like 10 episodes, 30-minute episodes. I think.
okay. Well, cool. I got some things to check out then. But is there anything else you want to share with the people before we sign off here?
No, that was it, man. Got it all off my chest.
Okay, and as always, of course, we would love to have some feedback on the things that we addressed here, and also, it's some things that you might want us to address in the future. Definitely share your ideas with us. If you want to throw any questions our way, or like I said, give any suggestions, we are definitely open to that. And I kind of feel like I know how it was last year. December and the holidays, because Funko, they are real people that work there and they go on break too. I wouldn't be surprised if there's kind of a lull as far as anything interesting happening with Funko over the next couple of weeks or so. But there's a lot to look forward to, though. In 2020, I know 2020 is supposed to kick off with the Birds of Prey line coming out, so I'm interested to see how that looks, and all that. But yeah, like I said, we any ideas you want to throw our way, any questions you want to ask us, we're definitely open to that, checking that out, and we definitely appreciate the support as well.
Yeah, same thing with me, man.
All right, then, good talking to you again, and I hope you all enjoyed this episode of the podcast. So, we'll be back with you all again soon. You all take care.